Alright, this video I'm going to share my thoughts on Van Damme. Now, this video is not going to be too positive, but it is what it is, as far as my views are concerned. Now, I don't know that much about him. I'm just going to state the things that I've heard, and I'll just base my opinion on that. I mean, I've watched a lot of his movies when I was young. When I was young before I even practiced martial arts. I really liked a lot of the movies that he made when I was younger. Like Universal Soldier was one of the first movies that I watched that he made. I used to watch Lionheart like over and over again. Kickboxer was a great movie. Bloodsport was a great movie. I've seen a lot of his movies, you know. And when I was young, I thought he was great. But now that I'm older, my views is different. Now it's a test. It's a test of time. Like I think a true martial artist, he's not just talented for a short period of time or even a long period of time. A true martial artist it's his life. Like through 100-year period of his life, he's living up to a high standard through the whole time, not just for 5 years or 10 years or whatever. You know, and I'm not just talking about physical development. I'm talking about body, mind, and spirit, everything. Representing martial arts to a high level on all levels. But I don't see him to be doing that. You know, physically, when he was younger, he was pretty gifted, pretty talented. You know, but I don't think that he ever had the spirituality. I don't think he ever had the spiritual understanding of the martial arts, ever. You know, he's just physically gifted, and once again, he's white, just like Chuck Norris and Steven Seagal, and America loves white, so they're going to give them opportunities before any Asian person. So, you know, he gets fame based off of his talent, gets well known, gets many opportunities, becomes, you know, gets to be in a lot of movies, and just makes a lot of money. You know, physically, pretty good. Like with his kicks, it was very, you know, very flexible. Had fat, you know, nice, good form, fast kicks. You know, built a good reputation for himself as far as his physical expression of the martial arts. He wasn't fat and obese when he was making the movies. I mean, he was in good shape. So he was representing a high level of fitness, which is good. But as I stated, you know, no spirit. And cage fighters, they may be very physically fit at a high level physically, but they don't have the spirit either. Now, if you say who's better, a cage fighter or Van Damme, I'd rather side with Van Damme much more than I do a cage fighter. Because I really disagree with how these cage fighters have decided to exploit the martial arts and hurt people, hurt themselves, and really damage the reputation fiercely of the martial arts. Fiercely. But Van Damme found another way to make money that's more peaceful. So acting in movies, martial art movies, to make money, get fame. And that's what he did. But the spirit, I don't think it was ever there. You know, things that I heard, you know, after his career starts dying down, because when you're representing a high level physically, eventually you're going to fall down. Because of age. All athletes, they eventually will get old. A Michael Jordan gets old. A Tiger Woods will get old. A Brett Favre will get old. A Van Damme will get old. Bruce Lee will get old. Everybody that's representing a high level physically will get old. So if you are gaining a lot of attention and fame because of your physical, you know it's going to end. It's going to end pretty soon. You know, it doesn't last for eternity. So what ends up happening is he could come crashing down. And that's, from what I heard, that's what happened. You know, gets a lot of fame, gets a lot of money, gets a lot of attention, but then he starts getting older and older. Nobody pays attention to him anymore. Now they hire somebody else. Then he starts losing attention, losing fame, losing money. Now he starts getting depressed. And then what happens? From what I heard, you know, starts getting addicted to drugs. You know, and then just destroys his life through the addiction of drugs. You know, and then also just letting himself go, just becoming like overweight or just not even in tip-top shape anymore. No motivation to train anymore, to be in good shape. So he's not even in good shape anymore. And then, you know, I heard that he wanted to go back into fighting in the ring to prove himself that he could still do it. I mean, this is all just showing how damaged he is psychologically and spiritually, and how underdeveloped he is in those areas. And then I also heard that, you know, he was invited to be in a movie Expendables, but he had to lose a fight to Jet Li, but he refused to do that. So he declined the role. And I think that it's just really sad. It's like, you know, how old are you already, and you're still like so protective of your ego? You still can't even let that go. I mean, Jet Li is not like, it's not like Jet Li is a mediocre martial artist. Jet Li is like one of the best. That's well known. But he didn't want to accept that. So obviously he thinks he's at a higher level than Jet Li. I mean, he could think all he wants, but you know, in my opinion, he's not even close. You know, so spiritually, he's just not there at all. He's not too different than a cage fighter, but not as bad as a cage fighter. You know, he's just somebody that's not representing martial arts to the highest level. But he's better than a cage fighter. He's representing it better than a cage fighter, but he's not too far away from that, though. You know, he's a ring fighter. That's just a little bit upgrade than a cage fighter. You know what I'm saying? It's like somebody that's on death row compared to somebody who's going to get out in 10 years. I mean, they're both still criminals. It's just that the person on death row is just way worse. He did something even worse. Like much worse than the person who's about to get out in 10 years. You know what I mean? These people are all damaged spiritually, psychologically. Their ego just gets the best of them. You know, and he's not somebody that I'm inspired by. You know, when I was young, you know, I watched his movies, but, you know, as you get older and you could do what he does, and, you know, it's not a big thing anymore. You know, when you can't do the splits and you watch somebody else that can do it, you think it's pretty amazing. But then when you could do it yourself, you're like, hey, you know, it's not that big deal anymore. I can do it too. You know, and I think that, you know, he's just like he's not a high-level martial artist. You know, but he has fame. People know about him, but it doesn't mean that he's a high level. You know, so I don't consider him a great martial artist. Like I stated, you know, he's just somebody that got into the industry. You know, so somebody that's in Hollywood doesn't necessarily mean that everybody in Hollywood is talented or the most talented people in the world. It just means that they got in. You know, and because they got in, they're well known. And just because somebody's well known doesn't mean that they really have the talent and skill. You know, so it's just sad that in this society, in this culture, we really don't have any real martial artists to look up to. Because Van Damme's not real, Steven Seagal's not real, Chuck Norris is not, you know what I mean? It's like comparing like high school basketball players to like the NBA. I mean, we got a bunch of like high school level martial artists. You don't see the real martial artists, the real professionals. You don't see that. You just got a bunch of high school martial artists. You know, it's like comparing the Olympics to like junior high. You know, somebody gets like a 6-minute mile in junior high, and then everybody's all impressed. But then you go to Olympics and then the guy gets like a 3-minute mile. It's like, whoa, that's real. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that, like, these are low-level martial artists here. They're not at a high level. What I consider to be a high level is way beyond what you see on the screen. Way beyond what you see in the movies. Way beyond what you see in the cage. Way beyond what you see in the ring. It's just something that you don't encounter very often. It's something that's hard to find. So that's the way, that's my view on them. Just being real about it. Most people, it's hard to have both. It's hard to be famous and be talented. Sometimes people are very talented but they're not famous. And sometimes people are very famous but they're not talented. To have both, to have fame and talent, that's very difficult. It's not easy. Because it takes a lifetime to build talent, and it could take a lifetime to build fame. To get both is not easy. It's just the nature of it. So, that's what it is.